Today's recent reads is all horror. Horror for music lovers, time traveling horror, boggy horror, and dark academia, but it's kind of horrific too. So currently I'm reading Japanese Gothic by Kylie Lee Baker, and I got this one because I had read her other book, which was Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang, and that book was pretty awesome. It was pretty effed up. So far, I think I'm about like 120 pages into this one. I guess I could hold up the book, right? So you have two different timelines going on, but they like totally intersect. So you have two people a century apart. They find a doorway between worlds. So you have this guy, Lee Turner. He killed his roommate. He doesn't remember how or why, and he realizes he has to get the F out of Dodge. So he takes off and he goes and stays at his dad's house in Japan, which is this house that's like the house behind the sword ferns or something like that. And it used to be a samurai house, and it has all this like history. So like all the ceilings and beams and stuff are lower because I guess in a samurai house, like if people come to attack you with swords, something with the ceiling, you can't fully extend your arms and whatnot. But anyways, stuff about this house. Animals won't come near it. Sometimes the window to Lee's room that he's staying in isn't always a window. And then at night, there's this like woman in the yard with a katana. And he's like, what the heck? And also in his room, there's this closet that you open the closet door and there's just like a cement wall there. So weird. But then sometimes that cement wall isn't there. So eventually, Sen, who is the woman who's from like 18 something, I forget what year it is, but it's like in the 1800s, and Lee is in 2026. Eventually, they meet and find each other because when she was outside, she saw Lee through the window. And eventually they meet and start talking. Lee, when he was about 12 years old, his mother had gone missing and disappeared, and they don't know if she is dead or whatever happened to her. He seems like he has a lot of just stuff going on with him where he is not always emotionally available, and just the way that his brain processes stuff and the way he sees the world isn't like how I guess society or people might consider to be normal. So he's always been trying to look for a window into the beyond or to try and talk to his mother's ghost. But when he starts talking to Sen, who is from like 100 years in the past, he's like, okay, so you're a ghost, but yet at the same time, they're like able to pass between this weird portal in time. So you have that going on. Sen's father was a samurai and one of the last of them. And when he came home from the war, basically they say it was a monster wearing her father's face because he became this like horrible version of himself who mistreats his family. And it seems like he's a very murderous, horrible person. But yet Sen still craves his approval and would probably do anything for him. You have a really messed up dynamic going on. It's a very intriguing, interesting story so far. I've found it to be quite the page turner. So let me tell you what I'm going to get into. We have horror for the music lover. This is called The Midnight Muse by Joe Kaplan. I saw this. I liked the cover. I thought it looked pretty cool. And then I read the synopsis and I was like, yes, please. When a metal band's lead singer vanishes into the woods, the mushrooms in the forest might know more than they're letting on. In this mycelium metal horror novel, the dead collect in low places. That's what Bryn Werner, lead singer of metal band Queen Carrion, wrote in her notebook before she vanished while staying at a cabin in Oregon's Umpqua National Forest. I apologize if I said the name of that forest wrong. Umpqua? A year later, on the anniversary of her disappearance, the rest of her bandmates visit the cabin to remember her and find a way to move on. But tensions arise over who should be the new singer and who is responsible for Bryn's disappearance. Tensions boil over as they realize all is not as it seems at Trail Creek Cabin. Strange entries in the guest book write about visions of a pale form that moves through the trees. Figures wearing gas masks lurk in the distance, and there's a strange fungus growing from the wall of a tunnel in the cabin's basement. Then they hear Bryn's voice echo impossibly through the forest, and the pale form that emerges from the trees is her perfect likeness. Is it her ghost or something else? Bryn knew that there was a secret in these woods. It's why she chased her muse here to finish her masterpiece. The Midnight Muse is an alluring and grotesque dissection of self and fungus. Kaplan delivers an ominous spiral of psychological torment as the members of Queen Carrion slip into a more natural skin. Do they all become mushrooms? What happens? I don't know, but this sounds wild and I cannot wait to read it. All right, so let's hop over from the forest and we'll go to the bog. So we have Bog Queen by Anna North. I don't know what it is about stories that have to do with bogs and whatnot, but I do like to read them. And whenever I see a title that has something about bog in the cover, even swamp, I tend to pick those up for whatever reason. Maybe it's a vibe thing. Maybe it's my weird draw to weird, like, foresty, swampy, boggy places. I don't know. Maybe I just like those settings for stories, like woodsy, swampy, boggy, out in nature. Like, those are always really interesting to me because you can do so much with those kind of landscapes in a story. So, when a body is found in a bog in northwest England, Agnes, a forensic anthropologist, is called to investigate. But this body is not like any she's ever seen. Though its bones prove it was buried more than 2,000 years ago, it is almost completely preserved. Soon, Agnes is drawn into a mystery from the distant past, called to understand and avenge the death of an Iron Age woman, more like her than she knows. Along the way, she must contend with peat cutters who want to profit from the bog and activists who demand that the land be left undisturbed. Then there's the moss itself, a complex repository of artifacts and remains with its own dark stories to tell. As Agnes faces the deep history of what she's unearthed, she's also forced to question what she thought she knew about her talent, her self-reliance, and her place in the world. So this next one, I can't remember where I saw it. I saw it somewhere online, and I don't feel like this is normally one I would have just been drawn to because the title I didn't like. But we're going to read it because it sounds very interesting. So the title is Spoiled Milk, which I hate that title, but I like the synopsis of the book. It's not the title itself. I picture curdled milk and it's gross. So this is the Dark Academia. 1928, Emily Locke's final year at the isolated Briarley School for Girls is derailed when Violet, the school's brightest star, and a cunning beauty for whom Emily would do anything, falls to her death on her 18th birthday. Emily and her buttoned-up rival Evelyn are, for once, in agreement. Violet's death was no accident. There's an obvious culprit, the French schoolmistress with whom Violet was getting a little too close. They only need to prove it. Desperate for answers, Emily and her classmates turn to spiritualism, hoping for a glimpse of wisdom from the great beyond. To their shock, Violet's spirit appears, choosing pious Evelyn as her unlikely medium. And Violet has a warning for them. The danger has just begun. Something deadly is infecting Briarley, and it starts with rotten food and curdling milk. But it quickly grows more threatening. As the body count rises and the students race to save themselves, Emily must confront the fatal forces that are poisoning the school. Emily's fight for survival forces her to reevaluate everything she knows, and Violet, Evelyn, Briarley, and ultimately herself. I think this sounds like it'll be pretty good. Okay, so what am I most excited for? I think there's two of those. So I'm really excited to get back into Japanese Gothic. I'm really liking that so far. I'm also super interested in the Midnight Muse. The metal music and mushrooms, that just sounds wild. So what have you been reading lately? And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.